Hey everybody, how's it going? It's me, Amanda Gold, and I am a life coach, and I'm so happy to be here talking to you today. I work primarily with creative, sober women, and I want to help you kick ass with both feet. And today it's time for your weekly TIT, which is not as scandalous as it might sound. It stands for Try It Tuesday, and it's where I pop in here and give you something to work on from now until next Tuesday, so for a week. And it's a practical exercise or tool or prompt or something that you can use in your life to help you kick more ass and help you feel better. And today is actually less of a tangible practice and more of a permission slip. But I felt really called to do this one today because it's something that's been coming up a lot for me. And what I'm about to share with you has really fucking helped me so much that I'm just really excited to give it to you today. So and before I get started, I should just say that I mentioned I'm a coach, and yes, you can work with me one on one. I have limited availability, but I do have availability, so reach out. The best way to do that right now is via email. So if you want to know more about what it's like to work with me or if we'd be a good fit, we could jump on a free consultation call. And before we even do that, you could shoot me an email to get more information. So you can email me at amandagoldmakesart@gmail.com, and I would love to hear from you. Also, even if you're not looking for coaching, but you just want to comment in private rather than comments in the videos, you can do that. If you have ideas for the channel, feel free. I've got a lot of stuff in the works, and I really am open to what you want more of because I want this to be helpful and supportive to y'all. Okay, on to the tit. So, today's is, like I said, it's more of a permission slip, and maybe the action, the actual thing that you're trying is this affirmation or this bit of advice that I got from my sponsor, which is cry all your tears. And that might not sound much to some of you, but I feel like there are people out there who need to hear that, and I know that I did. So when I was growing up, I felt very much ridiculed for my tears. And I felt like I was super sensitive and I cried a lot and I took things real personally. And I was part of this family that was just like better at laughing shit off. And so for better or for worse, whether they intended to or not, I grew up with this feeling of like, I'm bad for crying and I should toughen up or laugh it off more. I'm being too sensitive. I'm too much. I'm feeling too this, whatever, right? And then I spent 16 years drinking and using drugs and stuffing down my emotions. And if I did cry, it was usually because I was just wasted and just full of drama at the bar or whatever. And I wasn't ever actually like feeling my feelings in a healthy way. And then I got sober a little over 6 years ago. And it was just like all the feels all the time. And it was chaos and badness. And it was just like a shit show of emotion and a whirlwind. And I have had to learn how to navigate all that. And part of it was really about just surrendering to all the tears that needed to be cried. And even to this day, I find that I feel very deeply. Like if I hear about trauma or something bad in the news or read about it even in a book, it's like it's in my mind because I'm an artist too, so I'm super visual. And the curse of that is that it's like something shitty in the world is happening directly to me, or like I saw it and it sticks with me. And I remember feeling triggered or even traumatized by passages in books that just were like in my mind, like an event that I saw and I couldn't get rid of it. And I say that to say, like, this has been a practice of accepting my tender heart. And I do have practices today that help me feel less vulnerable to the world, I guess. Like I'm learning how to be vulnerable on purpose and vulnerable in the right ways, but not be just like completely open all the time to whatever's out there, right? Like I have really good self-care in place today, and I have ways of being not so permeable, I guess is the word. But it's also been a journey of just accepting who I am. And I suspect if I'm like, I've noticed a lot of fellow sober women, especially if you're artists or whatever, a lot of us just kind of have that in common. Like we feel very deeply, and it's not a bad thing. And I think a way to embrace that as the gift that it is, embracing it as the gift that it has the potential to be, is to just let ourselves be that emotional creature. There's definitely a time and place for stuff, but I also think that's part of the negative messaging we get. That's like, we still live in a culture that's like women are too emotional, or it's your hormones, or you must just be on your period, and like you should just suck it up. And I know too many people that just like cry in bathrooms a lot or like stuff down their tears, or, oh, if I had $1 for every time someone apologized for getting emotional, like I could pay everyone's salaries that's staying in jobs that make them cry in bathrooms. Just kidding. It's never the job that's making you do that. It's your thoughts. I'm a coach and I stand by that. But you know what I'm saying, hopefully. But when I was told by my sponsor to cry all your tears, that was very good for me to hear, because there was a lot of shit that was coming up in early sobriety. And as I continued to do this work, and this is like layers and layers of stuff that I'm unraveling and healing and allowing to be healed within me. And there's just a lot of sorrow and a lot of grief and a lot of pain and shit that I spent years running from and avoiding. And so, yeah, there's a lot of crying happening. And there's crying because of shit that I'm seeing in the world. And there's crying for my own self. Like as I come to terms with certain things, as I try to repair relationships, as I try to make amends for the past, and as I just like accept, I don't know, this like grieving thing of like certain identities that are falling to the wayside as I build this business, and as I struggle to like face my inner demons so that I can move on and be as successful as I hope to be, like this shit can just take its toll. And I just think there's so much to be said for like really letting yourself fucking cry if you need to cry. And also like taking away some of that shame and stigma about doing it in public or in front of loved ones. Like, no, I don't think we should just be basket cases like at work and stuff. But definitely in my job, there was a time and place that I think we needed to let ourselves be more vulnerable and cry more, because we were working with marginalized populations and people who are suffering and dying, and we were trying to take care of them, and we were under-resourced. And so, yeah, like tears would come up in meetings, and I think there needed to be more room and allowance for that real expression of emotion as we were like grieving for a lost client or just really challenged by how to best help them, right? And then we were all struggling and to take care of each other and ourselves, and we were feeling like the vicarious trauma. And there just, I think there can be so much to be said for just like letting healing tears come out. Like there's been studies that show like stress chemicals come out through our tears. And so it's just, I just think like taking the stigma and shame off of it would be so helpful for everyone. And it just feels better. And I think some of us kind of fear that emotion. Like we fear what would happen if I let that out. Like, what if I did just start sobbing right now? I'm sorry. What if I admitted that I was really hurting? What if I let it out? Maybe I won't ever stop crying. I know that can be a fear. And I know for me, I struggled with suicidal depression for many, 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 many years. And I worried that if I was just crying for no reason, it meant I was falling into a depression. And that wasn't it. I've learned to discern, like, these are tears that just need to be let out. Like when there's a big rainstorm, and how it like can be damaging to plants, and it can be a lot, and it can flood even, but afterwards the earth smells so much fresh and everything is more alive and it feels cleansed, and we can allow that to happen within and for ourselves. I think another area that this can be helpful, this whole cry all your tears, is in places where the tears feel kind of surprising. So when I started meditating, which I highly recommend creating some kind of meditation practice for yourself, and really all I'm saying is just like sit still for a little bit every day, I found that tears came out. And instead of making that a problem, I've learned to just fucking cry them. And it always feels better. And I don't always have to know like why they're there. It could just be because I've finally slowed down enough to give some time and space to that thing in me that needs to cry for a minute. It could be for something that happened 20 years ago that I never properly let myself feel or whatever. So don't make it a problem if you're finding that tears are arising. I think too, and especially as women, we feel like collective grief. So I think there is so much to be said for feeling like intergenerational trauma, ancestral trauma. I think we can feel the pain of the earth if we're involved in climate matters. I think that we feel the pain of the racial injustices that are going on and that are like even more brought to light these days. And also, I want to just say one more thing about crying all your tears. Like, don't be ashamed if you're crying over joy or beauty or love. I've noticed that I have so much more capacity for that. Like, I was on a hike the other day and I was just moved by the silence in the woods and the wind blowing through the trees. And I found myself crying a little bit over it. And I felt like I wanted to apologize for it and stuff it down. And I realized like those tears are a gift too. And we should cry all those tears because it's okay to be happy. And maybe there was a little tenderness or grief there too about like God, I could analyze it all day. Maybe it was something about like my whole life spent not appreciating things like the wind in the trees, or maybe just feeling so blessed to be alive when there's so much strife in the world and so many people didn't make it. The fact that I spent 16 plus years doing heroin and drinking myself to death and that I'm still alive to get to hear wind and trees, like yeah, that should move me to tears sometimes. It means I'm alive, it means I care, and it means I don't take my life for granted today. So that's beautiful. So I say if you're an emotional person or even if you're not, like are you not because you're not letting yourself be? Um just let yourself cry all your tears this week. Just try that. If you're someone who normally like shuts it down, if you have any emotion or tears, what would it be like if you just sort of let it out? Um if you're someone who's like struggling to stay strong, sorry, I thought my phone was off and it's not. If you're struggling to stay strong, and to you, that means like having a poker face or not feeling emotion. What would it be like to just like let that out? And what would it be like to understand that you can be strong and brave and courageous and also be crying about whatever you're going through at the same time? And I think when we let ourselves cry, we let that emotion pass through us that much quicker. So whether it's grief, um, or sorrow or loss or rage or just pain, like physical pain as well as emotional pain, if we cry it out, we're actually crying it out. Like it can get out of us faster. And if it's joy, and if we let ourselves really be deeply moved by joy, enough to be moved to tears, then I think that expands us in this really beautiful way that allows us to feel even more joy. And it just makes us all around better humans. So I would challenge you to try that today if that's a thing for you. And if it's not, I'd invite you to just explore that. Like, when was the last time I cried? How do I feel about crying? You might ask yourself these questions. You might journal about it. What do I think when I see other people crying? What are my beliefs around tears and crying and showing emotion that way? And if you feel like sharing it, I'd love to hear it either in my email, amandagoldmakesart@gmail.com, or in the comments below. I feel like I just talked and talked and talked, but that felt good. I felt like I needed to say that to y'all. And I hope it helps, as always. And I will be back Thursday, actually, because I'm going to be hiking in the woods on Saturday, but I will definitely still have Saturday's video for you just on Thursday. All right. Take care of yourselves and each other and your communities. And thank you for being here and spending this time with me. And I will see you soon. Bye.